Welcome back to HOA Hell podcast. I'm your host, Michael Kushner. Today I've got a special treat for everybody because you can see I have a different guest than I normally do, and I'll introduce him in a moment. But what we're going to see today is video footage of a quintessential director from hell who spirals into a sampling of paranoia, accusations, disjointed thoughts, and classic HOA director abuse. And it was all caught on camera. It's a meltdown of epic proportions, and it just shows this isn't even just bad attitude. This is stalking, it's harassment, it's on camera, and it was actionable. With me today, I've got my client who hired me a few years ago to handle this particular board member, Kourosh Amini. Kourosh, how are you today?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me on board, Michael.
Well, thanks for agreeing to come on. When I called you and asked you to do this, you were very gracious. I appreciate it. We're going to tell the story today. In a minute, we're going to watch the video, let everybody see for themselves what happened, and then we're going to talk about it and break it down after.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, people need to know about this guy, what he did. He's really out of control, and yeah. Definitely.
He is a bizarre person, to say the least.
Oh, yeah.
Now, we aren't going to use anybody's names today, and I am going to blur out the faces on the video because the individual on the video, not the abusive director, is another member of that HOA and a buddy of Kourosh's. But Kourosh had very similar experience with this. It just wasn't on video. So the video you're going to see isn't Kourosh, so I'm going to blur out the other person's face, and I'm going to blur out the director's face. We're not going to use his name either, just for obvious reasons. But let me break down, before we go to the video itself, and before I let you kind of introduce us to the video, I want to break down the situation that involved you, okay? So you were living in a planned community in Irvine. That's
right.
all I'll say about that, okay? Typical community, board of directors, CC&Rs, the whole 9 yards, okay? You had a neighbor and a friend who was of a similar background to you, okay, and that comes into play. And he happens to be among other things, he was a professional videographer.
That's right.
He liked to film aspects of everyday life, and he was also an ornithologist. He liked to film birds, including apparently some nesting egrets that were in some trees in the common area. And this was something he did apparently frequently. And he walked around the neighborhood and he would do videos all the time. And he as part of his exercise, he would just go walking every day. Okay. Well, because of this person's, maybe it's economic background, but more likely his ethnic background, and we'll see that was a pattern with this person, it didn't sit well with one of these board members in this community. And so this person decided that he was going to stalk this person and start harassing him just like he did you.
Yep.
To the point where back in 2021, during the COVID epidemic, you actually hired MBK Chapman. And we were prepared, and I'll talk about this briefly later, we were prepared to file a very serious lawsuit against this particular director as an individual, as well as the HOA. And but you moved, and so that was no longer necessary, and you didn't have standing anymore, which was fine. You moved for different reasons. It had nothing to do with this person. But had you not moved, we would have played this out in court, and I think that would have been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But Kourosh, just set us up for this video.
Yeah, basically after I left, my friend sent me a video of something that happened to him, and the story is like this. So he's walking around. He sees that he's being followed by the director.
Well, what was he doing? He was videotaping some birds, right?
Well, so this specific video, he wasn't videotaping bird. He was actually walking around.
Right, but I mean a few days prior to this.
That's right.
He set me up that part.
That's
All right,
right.
let me set that part and you talk about this.
Okay.
So a few days prior to when this event takes place that we're going to watch in a minute, he was his friend was in the common area, and he was videotaping a tree with some egrets in it, maybe some babies.
Yeah.
And this director, the director from hell in particular, was with one other director, and they were talking. And what frequently happened with this person, by the way, and we don't have any evidence that it was happening at the time that this stuff all happened, but he would frequently conduct business, HOA business, outside the confines of a noticed meeting. Mm-hmm. But anyway, he saw your friend filming.
That's right.
And assumed right off the bat that he was filming them,
Yes.
even though they were 50 yards away and there was no way.
They were further. Yeah.
Or further. There was no way a camera could have picked up the sound from that far away outside.
Exactly.
But he approached him, accused him of invading a private conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And your friend even showed him, this is the video I took. Look, it's birds.
Exactly. Not only that, but also he had set up his tripod and his whole camera system in advance before the board member were even in the area.
Yeah, he was there first, in other words. Okay, so now in this video, this takes place a couple days later.
Yeah.
And set us up.
So this takes place a few days later, and basically my friend is walking around and he sees the director in his car following him. And
so he starts his camera.
And he sees that the director is filming him. So he makes sure he takes the license plate information.
Right, and we'll pick up from there.
Yeah.
Let's pick up from there, okay? Now, I want to be clear about something. There was, on the issue or the videotaping of the birds in the park that precipitated this video you're about to watch, there was nothing private going on there. This was common area, and he actually he showed in the video that showed it was just birds. More importantly, as Kourosh said, he was further than 50 yards away. That couldn't possibly have picked up any sound, even if he was directing his camera at that location where the two people were talking. Mm-hmm. So let's pick up. I'm going to go and click on this video here. And you guys watching this will see it on your screen. And let's watch this, and then we'll comment after. It's
BJV M257 Honda. What is it? Okay, I got it. Oh, that's hilarious. I'm sorry, are you talking to me? Are you talking to me? I showed you the egrets. You didn't apologize like you said you would.
We're recording a private conversation.
What?
Yes.
I'm sorry?
Put that into your documentary.
What are you talking about?
You were spying on a private conversation with board members.
I was?
Yeah.
I don't think I was.
I saw it on your camera.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. Dude, stop acting dumb.
Look, I've let you off the hook so many times. You need to get smart about your decisions, starting right now.
Go parking on the fire lane. Go contact the attorney.
Look, that happened one time.
Go call your attorney.
That happened one time.
Go hang out with your crazy friends.
Okay, don't tell me who I can and cannot hang out with. Shoot, there it is.
Why are you walking around?
Okay, 'cause I walk for exercise.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Looking at people's homes?
I'm not looking at anybody's homes. What are you talking about?
Cameras recording children? Yeah, put that on camera.
What are you talking about?
Play dumb.
Cameras recording children. What are you talking about?
You get your camera equipment, you're recording private conversations. You feel like, what, you want to document chemtrails? Huh? Yeah? Is COVID a loss? Go parking in the fire lane.
It happened one time. No, it has never happened 4 times.
How convenient. I can actually...
Parking.
Your sons are using the pool after hours?
In my neighborhood. Stop stalking people.
Lower your volume.
Stop stalking people.
Lower your volume.
Get the fuck away from me. It's a goddamn pandemic.
Well, you're the one who's not wearing a mask.
I'm wearing a mask.
Just lower your volume and stop screaming like a fucking moron.
Okay, here's how this is gonna go. I'm just gonna go home right now. And this is going into a brand new police report.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
That is what we lived with.
I mean, I'm folks, I've seen the video before. I saw the full-length video. It's a lot longer, and it's just more of the same. And I'm still, sometimes I find myself speechless, and this is one of those times where, first of all, we're going to talk about, wow, there's a lot to unpack there. That's the best I can say.
Yeah.
Let me call this what it is, first of all, okay? This was an aggressive, confrontational set of behaviors from a board member who very much crossed the line into what I consider stalking, harassment, and because I know some other details, illegal discrimination. Mm-hmm. He followed, let's just be clear, he followed this homeowner prior to this video starting, because it's what made your friend pull out his camera.
Yep.
He was following him in his car.
Yep.
Then our guy pulled out his camera, and then he pulled out his camera and then sat across the street and filmed him. And then he got out of his car, crossed the street, and started following him. And then, this was great. He made a series of these disjointed, first, well, you were filming a private conversation, when clearly that hadn't happened, and it couldn't have happened given the distances involved. When that didn't work, and he was reminded, I showed you the video with the birds. He was reminded of that fact. He switched to, yeah, well, are you, you're filming other people's property. You're filming in other people's properties. And the guy's like, what? Yeah, and children? Are you filming children? I mean, he just started going from one thing to the next, and then it was parking in a fire lane, and then it was your kid.
Yeah.
Your kid uses the pool after hours.
That's how he is. He's just trying to get a reaction from you and escalate the situation.
So if you guys listened to I think it was the last episode we did in our 6-part series on HOA, or on neighbor disputes and HOAs, we talked about the legal definition of assault. There was one part of this video where he stepped forward pretty quickly and got into your friend's personal space. I'm not talking about conversational space. We know what's normal, how far away you are from somebody. We know what's normal. But he was, I would say, 6 inches from his face.
Yeah.
That is, in the context of this video, the speed that he did that at and the change in his demeanor, I would call that assault. To me, that's a crime.
Yeah.
That would be enough for me to put my hands on him and push him back, get out of my personal space. I would have done that. I would have actually laid hands on him. Because if you cross that line, you have started a fight with me.
Yeah.
Okay? I don't have to wait for the battery. I can act on the assault, and that was assault. And then, this was bizarre, he accused him. When he said, get the hell away from me, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Remember, guys, this was early 2021, okay? He then, to a guy he's 6 inches from, right?
Yeah.
Accused him of what?
Not wearing a mask.
And then he turns the camera, and I don't know if you'll see it through the blur, but trust me, the unblurred version, your friend's wearing a mask.
Yeah.
It's right there on his face. You couldn't miss it. It's not flesh toned. It was black.
Yeah.
So it was easy to see.
Yeah. Yeah.
It got more bizarre.
Yeah.
And then what I didn't show, because it was just too long, is there were times where he was walking backwards, just filming him, and then this director kept following him, maintaining.
Yeah. I think in the original version, actually, he assaulted him more than once. He came close to him within his personal space more than once.
And in the video that I got, which was not even the original video, I only saw the once.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you told me that a couple years ago.
Yeah.
When this happened, Kourosh shared with me that there was a much longer video. And I had only asked him for a short video so I could take a look at it because I was thinking about representing this other person. Yeah. But we'll talk about what happened later and why that became unnecessary. And your friend didn't want to go through the hassle since it was being taken care of. Yeah. Since some sort of justice did come to this guy, at least a little bit, there was some justice. But your friend tried to retreat on multiple occasions, and he followed.
Yep.
That's continuing the assault. That's escalation, right?
Yep. Yep.
And it didn't stop there. You told me that he was harassing not just you and your friend, but other people of a similar background.
Yeah.
Okay? Tell me the story about the pepper spray incident.
So he had been harassing this couple, and specifically this woman, through the year. And one day, I guess they were at the park, and he was harassing her, of course, filming in their face.
Got close, like 6 inches, like in the
6
personal
inches,
space, right?
Exactly. And at one point, the woman took her pepper spray and sprayed him.
Yeah. So they you had told me they had said, dude, back away. We don't want to be this close to you. And they kept backing up, and he kept approaching, like he did
same
here.
scenario.
But right here. And finally, the last time that he did that, she just pulled out her spray and sprayed him right in the face. I wish I'd have been there. I would have laughed like you wouldn't believe. So, of course, what does a male Karen like this do?
Well, goes to court, right? Goes
Calls
to
the
DA
police. Calls the police and demands that they take a report. They didn't arrest her, by the way. They took a report. He then starts apparently phoning and sending letters to the DA's office. He wants prosecution. He wants prosecution. The DA looked at it. Let's just be clear on what happened. It ended up being nothing. Okay? The charges were dismissed. It was nothing. Nothing happened because it was self-defense. But it still forced that lady and her husband to hire a lawyer just because now that you have law enforcement involved, you want to be protected.
Yeah.
And it was eventually determined it was all self-defense. He got what he deserved. Boy, would I have loved to have seen that, though. And I would have applauded, maybe sat down, had some popcorn and a soda. If anybody ever deserved to be pepper sprayed, I wish it was bear spray, to be honest. That would have been even more fun.
Would have been better.
And then it gets even weirder, right? So at some point, he's removed from the board.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't know the exact circumstances of that because by then you had left.
Yeah, I had left.
Right. So we don't know the exact circumstances of that, but he's not on the board anymore. But lo and behold, his cronies, his friends from the board, what did they do?
They hire him. They
To
pay
do what?
him. They pay him to do exactly what he was doing while he was on the board. Except now he's not liable to the HOA. So
well, he still is as an agent. I wouldn't agree with that. But what were they paying him?
$150 an hour.
$150 an hour to hire a guy who has no formal licensure or training of any kind to conduct or to perform services. Let's be clear about this. That a director is supposed to be performing and that he was performing as a member of the prior board as part of his duties. But now, instead of having his replacement take care of those duties, they actually pay him $150 an hour of association money. That is, I can't think of a more crystal clear example of a breach of fiduciary duty and financial mismanagement than that.
Yeah.
But it's not your problem anymore.
No,
So
not my problem.
when you moved out, we were in the process. We'd already sent the demand letter, and it was a good one.
Yeah.
And we were in the process of preparing to file suit against him for assault, and because there was issues with you and your son, a minor at the time.
Yep.
Okay. And parking, even though it wasn't your son's car, but
No, actually, it was his car.
I'm sorry, it was, but he hadn't actually been. He'd been driving it.
Yes,
Right,
exactly.
right.
He had parked
Tell us
like
that
30
story.
minutes. So my son goes to school every day, and he
Yeah, this was a
takes
few
his
years
car.
ago, so I'm a little fuzzy on the facts. But
He's like 16, 17 years old, and he goes to the store, comes back, parks his car. About 20 minutes, half hour later, he gets in his car to go to practice, and there is this huge orange sticker on his window saying, "You've been parked here for like 3 days. Now we're going to tow your car."
And from what I recall, he actually confronted your son personally, physically,
Yeah.
and was intimidating. And this is a 15, 16, 17, or 16-year-old,
16,
right?
17 years old. Yeah.
And this is a full-grown man. He doesn't go to his parents, doesn't go to you guys.
No.
Okay, he goes and confronts your son, and he's wrong, accusing your son of having the car parked there for more than 48 hours.
Yeah.
Which isn't possible because, as he said, the son takes the car to school every day. The son takes the car to go to the store. The son takes the car to go to practice. Music, right?
Yes,
Okay.
music.
So the son's driving the car all the time. And, if the parking spot's open, that's the one he picks. But otherwise, he'll park somewhere else. But there certainly was never a situation where he was parked there, never mind 48 hours, not 24 hours, not 12 hours, except maybe overnight, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have this bully, this grown man accosting a child. And we were going to go after him for assault because he does the same sort of intimidation tactics. He gets in your face, which is the way he's doing it. I'm sorry, but that's assault. I even told your son, next time he does that, push him away and say, "Stay out of my personal space." But again, we are in the middle of the pandemic. Okay, so needless to say, when you moved out, it was no longer viable for us to continue the lawsuit.
yeah.
So it was good that you moved, only because it saved you money. But more importantly, he got his comeuppance later anyway.
Yeah.
And he's gonna have his comeuppance, because this can't last forever. And I kind of let's talk about that. This person, I remember the stories you were telling me. It wasn't just you, and it wasn't just your buddy that we saw in the video. It wasn't just your son. It was a lot of people.
A lot of people, yes.
That shared some certain similarities. We'll leave it at that. Okay. This person took it upon himself, and a couple people on the board that were his cronies took it upon themselves. But he was the worst. Do you agree?
Yeah, he was the worst for sure.
And give me some of the other things that he would do.
So he would stand. My wife had a home daycare, and
Right.
he would
Talk us
stand in
about
front of the house filming people coming in and out.
How uncomfortable is that when they're bringing their little
When
teeny
they're
children?
bringing their children. And
By the way,
kids are
talk
under-
about video. Remember, he accused your friend of videotaping children.
Yeah. So yeah, and
Talk about projection.
So he would stand there and film these kids that are less than 6 years old coming in and out of the house, and then he would stop the parents of those kids at the entrance or the exit, saying, "Where are you going? Are you going to Kourosh's house?
Yeah, yeah.
What are you doing here? You're going too fast. You're doing this. You're doing that." And he was harassing everyone that would come to our
And I want to be
houses.
clear for people that don't know this, and I'm going to do I'll do an episode on this or a short in the future. But home daycares in California are exempt when it comes to like HOA rules about having home businesses. Daycare is actually by law exempt from those rules. In other words, even in an HOA where no home businesses are permitted, homeowners are allowed to run daycares as long as they're properly licensed and properly insured. The HOA can ask for proof of licensure and can ask for proof of insurance, but that's it. They can't prevent it, okay? And this guy was actively interfering.
Oh yeah.
I mean, parents don't want to run a gauntlet of an aggressive, despicable man-child like this guy.
Yeah.
Okay, I almost used his name. Okay, parents don't want to deal with that, and that's a great way to lose business.
Yeah.
And he would frequently, and then he would follow them sometimes to the house, and then
That's right.
and then if they left their car, they're only there for 30 seconds, just
Yeah,
enough
they
to grab the
literally
kid
just-
from the front door.
Exactly.
Okay, and then he would harass them about illegal parking. It's not parking; it's stopping.
Yeah. Not only that.
It's not
but
parking.
But it's not illegal parking because they would park on the street. So
Where they're allowed to stop
where
their
they're
car.
allowed to park.
But it wasn't even parking. But he would accuse them of not parking in a proper spot or something like that
Yeah.
when that's not even
Yeah.
a thing.
Yeah.
And even if they were, they just stopped long enough for the child to come out.
Exactly. Less than a minute most of the time.
So what he was doing, and we all know, is he knew because he probably tried to shut down daycares before and was told by the HOA's lawyer that he couldn't.
tried to shut our daycare.
He tried to shut you down, but I stepped in and showed them that
Exactly.
you were properly licensed and had
Exactly.
insurance, and that shut them down quick. But
Yeah.
boy, was their lawyer. Their lawyer was pretty obnoxious as well,
Yes.
but they often are.
Yeah.
The lawyers that represent HOAs are often like that because they work on volume and lower fees, and HOAs that don't have a lawyer that does exactly what they say will just fire the lawyer and hire the next one.
Yeah.
And so a lot of these lawyers they're yes men.
Yeah.
And it's a shame. They don't do their job, which is to counsel them about the law. But sometimes they do. And in this case, I'm sure it was done. But his goal, 100%, was to interfere with your business,
Oh yeah.
period. End of story.
Yeah.
Okay? And it would have worked, but for, our intervention and your not letting him get away with it.
Yeah.
Okay? You and your wife stood firm.
Yeah.
Which was smart and good. I'm glad you did that. But this was the kind of garbage he would pull. So what's supposed to happen if somebody, let's say your son was parking illegally or was in a fire lane, let's say, like the other guy was accused of. Let's say that did happen. What's supposed to happen is he can take a picture of it at the next HOA meeting in executive session, discuss it, have the lawyer send out a letter saying, hey, you're in violation. We're going to call you to a hearing, hold the hearing, and then determine whether or not the person is to be fined after that. That's what's supposed to happen. What board members are not supposed to do is personally confront people for every violation and infraction. That's not one of the powers of the HOA. It's absurd. It escalates needlessly. It can lead to unfortunate events. And in the minds of a crazy man like this, you get this result.
Yeah.
And that's a person, if this were the old days, and we're talking 50 years ago or more, you know what? Maybe somebody would take a baseball bat to the guy's kneecaps. And I can't say I would be sorry about that, if I'm being honest. I think we've lost something, that we can't do that anymore. I, for one, buy into the self-help and think that society has lost something and that we can't correct people in a more immediate way.
Yeah.
But we can't. That's just the way we live today. And so, you know, you got a guy like this who's actively, can you imagine this guy who's 6 feet tall, 200 pounds, stepping 6 inches or somebody from a woman who's 5'3"?
Yeah.
That's not appropriate.
It's definitely not. And I know also in the past he followed kids from the pool, teenagers, girls, and that's where the girls filming little kids, little girls came.
But it's him doing it.
But it's him doing it. He's following them, filming them, and
for what reason? What were they doing?
They were playing at the pool without supervision.
But were they too young to be at the pool?
They were
wobbler?
Probably 12 to 16 years old.
Okay, and I don't know what the rules of your HOA were, but if that was an issue, it's a minor issue. Notify the parents in writing. Say, hey, I noticed that your kids who look like they're 12 or 13 were playing at the pool. Our minimum age is 16 without adult supervision. In the future, can you please make sure you're there? That's what should happen. A good HOA, a non-insane HOA director that happened to witness that, would have sent a very simple email to the parents saying, hey, our rules are 16. Your kids look to be younger than that. Can you please make sure you're supervising them? And that's it. That's all. You don't start filming girls in their bathing suits. Young girls.
Young girls.
You don't do that.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, that's what he accused our client of doing, and our client's never done that.
Yeah.
Nor has our client ever been accused of doing that. He's been accused of it multiple times.
Yeah.
So, needless to say, this is your quintessential psychotic director from hell. What's the takeaway from this? I've got 3, okay? First of all, board members, as much as this piece of trash wants to think, they're not above the law. And they're not above the governing documents. And they certainly aren't above criminal law, okay? And people that act like this, it's very likely that if a lawsuit becomes necessary, insurance isn't going to cover their behavior. When we were filing suit for you, we were suing the HOA and him as an individual. And while the HOA would have been obligated to indemnify him, and that is the insurance company, to indemnify him during the prosecution of the lawsuit, because it's called a reservation of rights, I promise you that when we won that, the HOA would be like, okay, guys, pay us back the attorney's fees that we paid in representing him. Because his conduct, once we proved what we were going to prove, and we would have, didn't qualify as appropriate conduct within the course and scope of his duties. Those were tortious behaviors that are not covered under D&O policies. And that's where we were heading here, is we were going to make sure that this was going to come out of his own pocket at some point. And of course, this kind of abuse of power can and will, if people come to our firm, for example, cost an HOA dearly. Because at some point or another, somebody has to pay that piper. And when we get involved, we shut this down quick. And by the way, I want to say one more thing. My other co-host, Sam, who often is my guest in several of these episodes so far, is always telling you guys, document everything. This couldn't have been a better example of having great documentation in the form of a video, which would have, picture speaks 1,000 words, a video is 1,000,000, okay? Yeah. This would have been invaluable, and it would have come out while your case was pending had you not moved, so this would have been great. Yeah. I would have used this, of course, because it shows a pattern in practice, because it wasn't just your friend and you, it was other people too. Yeah. So, folks, I hope you liked this episode. I hope you enjoyed seeing what we're talking about when we talk about a director from hell. If you like this episode, please hit the like button, and be sure, if you haven't already done so, to subscribe to HOA Hell, the podcast. And if you have any questions or comments, I'd love you to leave a comment. Until next time, have a wonderful day.